Hello, everyone. Welcome. I can't tell you how excited I am to have my friend Intissar be with you. God, we just were talking a little bit prior to this, and it has been a year. How can I let a year go by without having you on? So I made a commitment. We're having you on here more than just once a year, my friend. But before we even do that, let's say hello to people. Let's welcome them in. And, we don't even know what we're going to talk about. We do, but we don't really do. So, and guys, everybody, please forgive me. I am still recouping from COVID. So if I have COVID brain, I'm just going to blame it on that, is what I'm going to do. So let's say hello to everybody. Hello, Diana. Good to see you. Shelly Ferrano, thank you for being here. Priscilla, hello. And Chris, hello. Debbie Lyons, good to see you. And then we're also on Instagram. Fashionton, hello. Thank you for being here. Marmo Hodges, hello, Mamala. Good to see you. And Kuklali, Kuklalil, I'm going to say hello. And thank you for being here. I appreciate you all being here, and Heather and Fox and Squeeze Box. And thanks, guys, for being here. Yeah, COVID happened the day after Father's Day, and I tested positive on that Wednesday. So it's been a whole week. Yesterday or Wednesday. No. Today is Wednesday. Hi, see, COVID brain. On Monday, I tested negative, but still feeling the effects of it. I don't know. This is probably, I would say, the worst one that I got. This is my 4th time with COVID, and I've had all the vaccines, and I'm like, mental health matters. Hello from Seattle. Thank you for being here. So, guys, we're on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So thank you. And guys, if you don't know my friend Intissar, I have to tell you, every time she's on, I am amazed. I sit back and go, wow, boy, did I learn something. And I'm like, how can I use that on a retreat? So she is just phenomenal. You have been a psychotherapist for over 20 years. Is that correct?
No, I've been a psychotherapist for now 13 years.
13 years, but it feels like 20.
It feels a lifetime because you know that we get trained in life before we get the degree. So
that's true. I'm just so inspired by you and in awe of you. You are now doing. May I mention the program that you're doing?
The program. Which program are you talking about?
The program that I got back over there.
Go for it.
The thing that I've done for 2 years, that I did my training for 2 years.
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so Intissar is also doing a shamanic apprenticeship program, Peruvian based. So I'm so excited. So guys, we talked about it right before we got on live. Please know that Intissar and I are going to be doing a retreat next year. You heard it live from both of us. We're going to be doing a retreat. We'll figure out where. Intissar is on the East Coast. I'm here on the West Coast. So we're going to figure it out and go from there. Hey, Kathleen and Jill and Ladora, thanks everybody for being here. So today's talk is about thriving on our inner journey. Why is it important that we really not give up on going within? Because I think a lot of people, and this is what I was going to mention to you, I find, as a life coach, I find that what happens to some people, not all, they get to that part and they're like, oh yes, it's really good. And then they hit the wall and they don't want to go over that wall. They're challenged. I will say they're challenged by this piece that seems to be that hard piece. As they unlayer the onion, they get to that one piece, and that is the part that stops them from continuing, or they don't want to look at that issue. I don't know, what do you find in your in your expertise of like, how do we get people to go over that?
Okay. So I'm hearing some background noise. Do you hear that too? Or no?
I did, but I don't hear it now.
So it is very common that we come to this place that you describe as a wall. Um, I call it a resistance. And the resistance is there most often to protect us.
Mm.
And we are not aware that it's there to protect us. We just feel that there's a block. And then what usually happens is we start going to the reasons that I always say are more kind of on the superficial level. I don't have, I can't, whatever it is, the typical reasons we say we cannot. And then there's also this sense, because we live in a culture where we tend to say things like pull yourself by your own bootstraps, like
Right.
go ahead and like you have to independently find your way. There's something about doing it on your own. So there's multiple reasons why we get stuck. There's reasons in our lineage. There are reasons that are more present day. There's so many reasons. The important piece is that, from my perspective, we don't fight this resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And also I don't say let's get over it, but let's get through it, so then it's completely attended to, dissolved, and you don't have to keep meeting it over and over again.
And that's a really good point, because I've said that too. We have to move through it. We have to push through it and move through it. Be with it, own it, say thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing me where I need to continue to go so I can thrive, so I can move forward. What would be something that you could suggest for that person that is at that threshold, that says, okay, I'm nervous about crossing that threshold. I'm nervous about stepping into that place of the unknown, or the place where I always consider that I'm getting this back, where I get here and then I get a bounce back. Because I think, and I'll really mention it for myself, I know that I have in the past self-sabotaged myself for a repetitive pattern. I'm going to cough, so I'm going to mute myself. So
Yep.
hang on. So I've gotten to that place where I recognize, well, you're doing this. I am creating this thing. So I don't have to get to that wound that I'm not ready to see or feel, or that keeps me, that wound, fascinating, that wound keeps me safe.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what would you suggest for people that are coming up against something? How do they break through it? How do they move through it?
So, of course, because I sit in the seat of, therapist, and I also sit in the seat of client with practitioners myself, it is helpful to do this in relationship with someone and not expect that you're supposed to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
There is something to be in relationship with someone you trust, to be with you and hold you while you go through this process. And I understand not everyone has to go to therapy, or there's other ways to attend to that, but also to do it alone can be a bit challenging, because
Mm-hmm.
you're going through it and you need someone to support you as well as you go through it, right? And the wound that, yes, the place where we were wounded, we call it creative adjustments. We are brilliant at at creating adjustments so that we can survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is part of, so it's, this thing that we call a block is a creative adjustment to allow us to continue surviving because we want to live. And it's an innate impulse in us to continue life, right? And so this creative adjustment that protects us becomes outdated in the current situation. So in the current landscape of our life, it's not really applicable, but it was very much applicable to a previous time. But somehow in our system didn't get updated. So the process is to update our system, thank this resistance, acknowledge, honor the fear that's coming up. I know there's this resistance. It's called self-sabotage. It comes by different names. And we need to also honor and respect our fear. So it's not about just, pushing through in a jarring way or in a way that will re-traumatize someone or relive the trauma. That's not what's meant by getting through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that?
No, it resonates because I like creative adjustment instead of a block.
Yeah.
That the block is very rigid, right. Very it's unmovable.
Yeah, and it's as if we did that. There's all this like, I'm getting in the way of myself. There's all this language we use that it's your fault, Elias, it's your fault,
Right, exactly.
It's not really, that's not what's true from my perspective.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that exercise that we did a long time ago? Now, when I was in therapy, and I know that somebody else did, I think it was a Gestalt way of doing it, where she had me sit as me, and then she had another chair that was my heart, and then she had another chair that was my brain, and that heart and brain had to talk to me. So I then had to sit in a chair, hold this pillow that was a heart, and talk to the empty pillow that was the empty chair that was me.
Yes.
And then go to the brain, and she had the squishy pillow that looked like a brain, and I sat in the brain chair, and then I talked to that. Would you think that that would be something? No, I know people journal, but I found it very interesting as I sat in each chair.
Yes.
And had a whole different perspective.
Yes. And what you're describing is what we would call experiential therapy. So to sit and talk about it is one thing, but to experience being your heart, to experience being your brain, and being in relationship to you and having that conversation is way more effective. It creates movement.
Right.
But to sit and talk about it doesn't create the movement that you want, this place where you want to go to be able to release the block. That happens experientially, not just by talking about it. So there's experiences, we call them experiments in Gestalt therapy. We set up experiments. I set them up, in here in this office. Through dialogue is one way.
Right.
Yeah. And there's other ways also. If people, one way I can share with you, if somebody isn't in therapy and isn't planning on going to therapy, is this comes from family constellations. It's called using objects, doing an objects constellation. So I have a bowl here full of different rocks and crystals, and I use them as representations, but you can set this up on your own. So like you can set up using objects, saying, choose a representation for yourself. Okay. And place that on an altar or at the table. And then choose a representation for the block. place the block, sit and notice what comes up for you. Okay, when you place the block, then you say, I want to release the block. Choose a representation for that release that you're wanting and place. And then you start seeing the constellation of what you're working with.
I love that. I love that. That reminds me, Intissar, of and we do this on most every one of the retreats, and I'm pretty sure that Dolores says, can I use a hammer?
Oh, yeah. Can I use a hammer?
That's
yeah,
funny.
I mean, true. If you need to crush something, go for it. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. But, it's the thing is, when we get so offense, defense, whatever you resist, it persists. It can get, you can crush it and then you find it's still there.
I would like to suggest for Delora to use perhaps maybe frozen egg bites. I think that might be really good for you. That's an inside joke that she'll totally understand. Frozen egg bites. Try that. Just watch them thaw. It's very therapeutic. Ladora says it's a speed bump, telling us we need to slow down to acknowledge, examine, understand, and accept it in order to move on. True. Very true. Now, in the shamanic stuff that I've done is we'll take a stone.
Yeah.
And we'll blow the energy into the stone. And then as we blow the energy into the stone, I just quickly got Dolores' message there. As we blow that energy into the stone, then we talk about what does it look like, the other person to describe, what does it look like if there was an ant walking on that stone and describing the journey on that stone? What does it look like when an eagle flies over it? So if we had a stone here, which I have several, if we had a stone and we're like, oh, okay, well, here's a stone. And as I'm walking on it, I notice that there's a slope here. And then as I go to the slope, I even out. And then I feel like I'm going up again. And if I turn it, I notice that it's very smooth and one side is darker than the other. So we talk about the stone as a journey, and it's fascinating. So I think these kind of tools that you are using, obviously because you're a psychotherapist, fascinating. And Dolores said, frozen egg bite fight when I see you. You're funny. Hi, Liz Dawn. Good to see you. Good to see you. So yes, Gestalt theory, so fascinating. And I like the experiential piece, because that, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, because it's so important to process experientially, to have the experience, because these emotions, these, if you want to call them resistances, blocks, live in us, right? And so in order to attend to them, also we need to move with them in an experiential way. Sitting and talking about them will not take care of how they are alive in us. Where are they lodged in us? There needs to be movement of sorts along with the talking and the remembering.
Right.
Yes.
And when I'll talk about me. When I have found that I am actually doing something, moving through something, and there is an exercise where, don't get me wrong, everybody, talk therapy is amazing.
Absolutely.
But when I can hold something tangible and I can do an exercise.
Yes.
I remember my teacher, who did teach the 2-year apprenticeship program in shamanic studies. She was also a psychotherapist. And I remember she actually had me lay on the ground. She rattled over me, and then we went into a journey. And that journey was fascinating. She did place crystals on me. So it was integrative psychotherapy. And then she had me actually use, as I got out of the journey, she said, now I want you to talk about, your hand, and look at your hand and see how that is a roadmap for, it was just, I can't remember all of the details right now, but it was so fascinating to me to use different techniques moving forward to, as you said, creatively. I forgot what you just said. COVID brain. Creatively adjusting. Is that what you said?
Oh yeah, we call them creative adjustments.
Yes.
Yes, those ways that we have created these, resistances in order to protect ourselves, in order to survive. So, if anything, we need to be thankful to these resistances because they have
Yes.
protected us. But what happens oftentimes is we then develop this relationship where it's a fight with this resistance because it is getting in our way.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Diana talked about uh, so interesting. I have a rather large stone that I started really examining. I love that. Ladora says, have you watched Inside Out 2? It's basically shadow work in cartoon format. I love that.
Not
And
yet. Yeah, not
yeah,
yet. I
either
plan.
have I.
Yeah.
I plan on watching it too. And hello to everybody that is on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Thank you for being here. Priscilla says, interesting. I think those tools can be very helpful. I do talk therapy, but also EFT on my own, which is great. And if you don't know what EFT is, go ahead and if you want to explain it while I get a sip of water here. Thank you.
Um, I think EFT can stand also for emotionally focused therapy, but I think
Mhm.
EFT that Priscilla is referring to is the tapping. Mhm. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Part of what I feel is important to say here is that um, it is so important to know that the answers that you're looking for are in and within you.
Yes.
And so the practitioner that you're working with is the facilitator of a process that will connect you to the answers. So, what this self sabotage is, you have the answer because the lineage of that self sabotage is within you, not within me,
Right. Right.
right? So, part of the releasing is really also getting to the root system of what it is we're trying to release.
Yes, agreed. Now, you said, ancestrally, which I fascinating. Elizabeth says on Instagram, I think I could truly benefit from experiential as opposed to talking. I'm a hands-on learner and would maybe be a better way in stopping blaming myself. So true. And that's why, guys, the retreats that we create and the retreat that Intisar and I are going to do next year, I mean, it is experiential. And to have a psychotherapist be a co-facilitator. Fascinating, everybody. I will keep you informed. But this piece about ancestral, I'm going to call it, because I did this on a retreat that I facilitated, ancestral blueprint,
Mhm.
that we talk about. For example, a client might say, oh, I'm always a procrastinator. Who else
Mhm.
in your life is a procrastinator? I'm so much like my mom, so much like a grandmother. So this lineage of procrastination came through on all these pieces. And how do we break that blueprint and create our own? Now, if anybody's adopted, I'm going to newsflash, you get your adopted blueprint and your birth parent blueprint. Oh
That's right.
joy. It's a twofer. It's a 2-for-1 special. So to break through that and
Yeah.
see the pattern, fascinating. We did that on several of our retreats, and that might be something to think about, Intisar.
Well, of course, because that's what family constellations is about. It's about recognizing what we have taken on
Mm-hmm.
and releasing those entanglements or interrupted movements so that there's more freedom and space for us to move in accordance to ourselves. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, of course, we can get a little more at another layer. We have the lineage of Intisar, the lineage of Elias, the lineage of everybody that's on the call, right? And then we also then have our soul lineage
Mm-hmm.
that we're
Which,
working with,
right. And
right?
that's a lot.
It's a
It's a
lot.
lot.
So
Yeah.
oftentimes when you hear someone saying, I don't know why I keep doing that, I just don't know why I keep doing that, already that's information that this person is entangled with some ancestor that has unfinished business.
Yes.
He keeps doing that in order to bring alive that ancestor and finish their business.
Would you say, just questioning here, would you say, because I've recognized this in the work that I've done and the work that I use, let's say that I have a repeated pattern
Mhm.
and I did not clear that up with my mom or dad. And people in my life keep showing up with that issue, that mirror that I need to release that piece. Would
Yes.
that be part of what you're speaking of?
Yes, that would, yes, and this would also be that you, Elias, have unfinished business with your parents or your mom or your dad, right? That then you find yourself in these situations that incite kind of that similar reaction in you,
Yes.
right? And that is for the purpose of attending to that original wound.
Right.
It's like saying, pay attention to me. I need your attention. It's not because you don't know how to choose. It's
Mm-hmm.
not because you're making the same mistake. You know, people often will find themselves in the same situation and think, I said I wasn't going to do this again. And here I am. Like, why didn't I pay attention? Or, back to that self blame. Well, that's not the reason why you're in this place again.
Mm-hmm.
You're in this place again because there's an ask from you to you that says, please take care of this, whatever this is that needs to be taken care of as far as a wounding, unfinished business, hurt. Yeah, you can.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Would we say that the blame that we keep on looking at ourselves and blaming ourselves, does that blame stop us purposely when we hit that ouch, when we hit that wound, when we hit that thing that we are, again, I think blame, correct me if I'm wrong, but blame can be a way of self-sabotage, and it could, just not give us that permission because, oh, what did I do? I did this to myself. I did this. Or we blame somebody else when we want to avoid and say, because of that, because of that person, this happened. So I think it's just fascinating work to be able to have that, to have the courage, because everybody, when you're working on yourselves, you are really being courageous. You're being courageous to be able to say, I want the answers, I deserve it, I am worthy of it, and it is in my soul being of wanting to progress forward.
Mhm.
So Diana says, can we bring those wounds from another incarnation?
I mean,
You know, could we? I mean, it
be.
depends. It depends on if you've
Uh-huh.
read Many Lives, Many Masters, you're going to see that there are patterns that happen that can, be part of that lineage, that soul lineage. Hannah says, I love the way she's breaking everything down and is explaining everything in such a relatable way. That's the important piece, guys. Liz, Dawn, and I were talking today about being relatable, about really having this knowledge and breaking it down where we can
Yes.
really, feel
Yes.
it, taste it,
Yes.
and
Absolutely. So important.
right.
It's not just about theory and sort of these lofty, ways to attend to one's life. They need to be practical and usable. I want to go back to the piece about blame, Elias.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Um, Blame is a way that we can also have a false sense of control. So, Young kids do something called magical thinking.
Okay.
Like, if I behaved, mom and dad would get along better. It's my fault that mom and dad are fighting. And what that does for a child, it gives them a sense of like, I can do something to change what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So similarly, when we are self-blaming, we're thinking, well, that means I can change it.
Mm.
And it's actually not very effective to do it that way, because when we're blaming ourselves, we're putting ourselves down, and then we're expecting ourselves to get up and move.
Interesting. Interesting. Because I always thought, I mean, done therapy and moved through it, right? My big piece was I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. And even though my dad was joking, and everyone knows my parents, I love them dearly. Even my dad would say, well, I would say I didn't do this right or whatever. He's like, all right, well, we're just going to throw you in the garbage can. And even though he was joking, and my mom would yell at him, say, don't say that, right? But there was a part of me that was like, oh, I wasn't good enough. Oh, these 5 people that were my foster parents before my parents adopted me, I wasn't good enough for each of those homes before I was 18 months old. I mean, that really, like, once I got into that, and once I got into the, I didn't fit in properly, or I had trouble dating, I wasn't good enough. That was a pattern that repeated over and over. Even my parents saying, oh, it's Sunday, you need to dress up even though we're not going anywhere. You need to dress up even though we didn't go to church. You still need to wear a shirt and tie. I wasn't good enough when I had a polo and khakis on. So, and using that voice and saying that, because I was taught that we swallow that voice. We swallow that, and there's that blame. I'm not good enough. They are my parents. They know better. And I have to, and that's a lot I see, without calling anybody out here. I know a relative, I should say a distant relative, that constantly has this pattern that comes up, and I can see the blame that happened when they were a child, and they still hold on to it, and they are holding on to it like for dear life. Like, this is why things don't work, because of that. Fascinating work. As you all know, I was a psych major. I did not finish, but I love this work. I find the psycho-spiritual piece so it just blends so nicely.
It does blend. And for me, to doing this, I don't consider it work, honestly. It's a passion of mine, because it really does bring that greater connection with oneself.
Mm-hmm.
It really, as we attend to all the programming, all the wounding, all the debris, right? We clear more and more space for ourselves to breathe into our soul and live out of our soul, rather than live from our personality selves that have been put together.
Right.
By previous experiences, by culture, by family, by everything, right? How many people get wounded by bullies at school and still hold that wounding?
Yeah.
It's real. This is the way we've been informed, we've been imprinted. It's not just we get ancestral imprints, we get imprints, especially from our first breath to year 7, we're imprinted. All these experiences we have.
Right. So true. What would you say for everyone that's watching?
Hi.
I know Susan says hello, and
I want to say a shout out to my son also earlier. He's like, I love this woman. I love you too.
Oh, is that your son? Wait. There
Oh,
you go.
yeah.
Oh, awesome. I
Yeah.
love this lady too. She's
Yeah.
amazing. She's amazing. Susan says hello, hello.
Hi,
So
Susan.
when you gave us this beautiful, and I love it each time you do it. You gave us this beautiful exercise about waking up in the morning and just saying, touching our shoulders and saying hello, and I
Using
love
your name.
you.
So yeah, we can. I also can, before that, I want to speak to
Yes,
the not good enough wound, because that
please.
is a pretty pervasive wound. I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts really early on.
Okay.
And we each, of course, have our story that connects us to I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does get seeded in us when we're really young children and we get in between our parents. So, or we're trying to take care of one of them
Mm-hmm.
or the other. And a young child can never, ever be good enough to take care of a parent.
Mm-hmm.
But we do it because we see mom is in distress. We see father is enraged, or father or mother. We all, come from issues, right? And there's an impulse in children to want to take care. And part of wanting to take care is because they want to make it better for themselves. But because in our attempts that we try to take care that fail, because we are the child, I'm the child, right?
Right.
No child can take care of the adult. It's out of order. It's in reverse order. So then we start really feeling that I'm not good enough.
Mm. Makes sense.
And that's why so many of us come with this wound of I'm not good enough. I don't feel like I'm good enough. No matter how great one can seem, they still in their core feel I'm not good enough. Yeah.
That's a hard one. I have to tell you, that's a really, I mean, I am 59 years old, and I think it took me close to 46 to almost 50 years to
Yes.
unweave the
Yeah.
people pleaser, unweave the perfectionist.
Mhm.
It still pops up once in a while. Unweave the control freak. Unweave the big one was the fixer. The fixer I got, in my last marriage. That just came right here, and I'm like, wow, this is all coming from that piece of, not feeling good enough for whatever. And for me, it started really birth, honestly, truly.
I would even say, I mean, a lot of the
In
imprints
Euro,
are in utero.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Because we know in utero if mom is under stress or she's distressed or depressed or unhappy or anxious or whatever it is. Yes.
Yeah. And like I've told you, and some of the people know, on my adoption paper, it says the unbaptized bastard child of. And my mom's like, "Oh, honey, you've got the Greek translation wrong." I'm like, "Nope, it's in English." I flipped aside. There it is, all in English. And that was like, it's almost like branded,
I was gonna
on
say,
the heart and on the, not on the soul, but I'll say on the
yeah,
heart. It's
yeah.
just, it's
Mm,
crazy.
mm.
Dolores says, no matter how much I did, it was always do more.
Yeah, I can relate
You
to
know?
that. Yes.
Chris says, I always thought I needed to take care of my brothers.
Yes. Yeah.
Only learning to let go of that child this past year. Wow. Shelly says, me too. Tina says, I had 3 families by the age of 7. Interesting. Hey, Anthony. Good to see you. And Sarah, thanks for being here. Rody Cat, hello. Eleni Maria Timucanis, hello. How are you? Good to see you on here. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
You wanted that. Yes. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Before I said, let me speak to the not good enough, you had asked for the practice that I shared last time. We can do that. We can do that at some point. Like do
Let's
it
ask people.
live.
Yeah, let's ask people if they have any questions up
Yeah.
to this point, and then we can go on to that. Donna
I
says,
want to, yeah,
yeah,
I feel like it's also important because um, moms are often the source of the issues,
mhm,
but
sure,
there's also father wounds, of course, and
right,
so it is. I think I want to honor moms and the struggles of being a mother and the lack of support around mothering
mm,
in
mm,
our culture and most
sure,
societies. That um, it is, as my shamanic teacher told me, the impossible job to be a mother, right? And we're so quick, even in therapeutic spaces, so quick to blame mom, to blame mom, to blame mom, right? Without getting the fuller picture of mom.
true,
Yeah.
true. I forgave my birth mother. I
Mhm.
forgave her, but it was still such a struggle when I went to go meet her,
Yeah.
and she asked me, "I don't understand why you're gay."
Uh-huh.
And she said, "Did you wear your mother's clothes? Did you put on her makeup? If
Mm.
you were here at 14, we would have had you go to the local village hooker and make you into a man." I mean, I was like, I'm sitting there going, I met her for the first time, and this is a dialogue. We sat around and we talked for almost 8 hours a day in the kitchen or doing something. And I'm like, you don't understand why. So if I was to show these tendencies, you would have took me to a hooker to make me into a man. If you lived here with me, you probably wouldn't have been gay.
Mm.
Interesting, right? And that alone, and then when she wanted to give me a little gift and it was like this thin, tiny little bracelet, I'm like, uh, you don't think that a thin little tiny bracelet, like you, I was like, oh no, 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 no. And I had to tell her, I got a little sassy and I said, well, maybe we should go thank the woman of this local village and tell her what a great job she's doing with all the men. Jacob, so good to see you, my friend. And he says, I learned to see my parents as a man and woman, and I saw the God in them. I instantly understood them as people, and my judgment released. Wonderful. It's hard to be a good mother when you never had a good example. Mothering is not for the faint or of the heart.
Yeah.
Shelley says, my sixth grade Mr. Collins said to me in front of the classroom that he was disappointed in me because my grades were not as good as my older sister that was in his class.
Mhm.
Wow. My mother told me all the time how she didn't want a third child.
Mhm.
I started noticing me repeating the patterns of my wounds from my mother and my kids, and had to learn to take pause and reprogram and do things differently and new.
Yeah.
Yep, agreed.
Yep.
Agreed. Crazy, right? Susan said, I have 8 children and I'm apologizing for everything that I wasn't.
Mhm.
Wow. I mean, again, these wounds are really deep. And I think that the work that we do, the work that you do, and going on a retreat or going to an event and seeing um, speakers that can give you some answers or give you tools to be able to go deeper. So important. So
Yeah.
important. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Absolutely.
Um, let's see. Tina says, my biological mother helped me understand mental illness and even entered the field.
Mhm.
Wow. Right.
Mhm.
Fascinating. Anybody have any questions for Intisar before we go into that beautiful practice? I just think
Mhm.
it's so awesome. I'm looking at hello everybody on Instagram. Facebook and YouTube if I didn't say hello to you. Thank you for being here. Okay. I'm
Okay,
just
so
checking.
yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
And
Let's
then
go ahead and go for it.
yeah.
Let's go ahead and go for it.
And so this practice that I learned from my Gestalt teacher, Mariah, is to begin cultivating that relationship with oneself. Right? And it's a practice that you can do morning and night to really even consider that having a relationship with yourself is actually a thing that we need to have. It's an active relationship, just like you're in relationship with a friend, with a colleague, there is a relational space between the I Intissar and the you Intissar. So if everybody wants to try it on, I love to put my hand on my heart because it's a way of connecting and just, quietly or softly or out loud, however you feel like speaking to yourself. And I also I enjoy closing my eyes because it orients me more in an inward way, to say your name. So I would say, Intissar, good morning. Good morning, Intissar. And just be sweet with myself. Tell me how you are this morning. So I'm having a conversation with me, right? Tell me what is important for you this morning. What do you want for today? What is your intention for today? And wait and listen. And then give feedback. So learning to have dialogue. And then at night, instead of going to bed, it's putting yourself to bed. So similarly in the morning, instead of waking up, it's waking yourself up. Right? Just like you would wake up a child, if you've had that experience of waking up a child. It's like, good morning, sweetheart. It's time to get up, especially in the first moments of trying to get them up. Same way. It's Intissar, sweetheart, it's time to get up. How is your day? When it's time to go to sleep. Is there anything you need to let me know? Is there anything you want me to share with you? Just check in. It's a check-in also with yourself as you learn to cultivate this relationship that you have with you. Oftentimes we're looking in an outward way for that thing that will give us the self-esteem or that was going to build our confidence, right? We're always looking in an external way. If I get this thing, if I do that thing, I'll start feeling like this about myself. I'll feel better about myself if right? Where actually the way that one can authentically really feel confident and build self-esteem is by orienting inward and cultivating a better relationship with oneself, a supportive one, a kind one, a gracious one, a sweet one. Right? If one is berating themselves all day long about how poorly they did and how that was a stupid mistake, how did you think that, why did you do that, and then expect yourself to feel confident at the end of the day, it's just the formula doesn't work.
Right. So true.
So even I'm learning, and I continue to learn. I built a fire like 2 months ago, and I burnt myself, right? And I started talking to my burn. I'm like, I'm so sorry that you got burned to my skin. I know it hurts, right? Let me kiss it for you. And honestly, and then I took some Tylenol, I went to sleep, and I woke up, and it was a gnarly burn, and it calmed.
Mhm.
It calmed. It's like I showed it some love and support, and it calmed.
Yeah. And see, like some people might be like, damn it, how could you be so stupid that you weren't paying attention? And
Yeah,
they're causing the anger to
yeah.
create more pain for
More
that word.
fire, more
Right. More
fiery
fire.
flame.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
right.
Fascinating. Just fascinating.
I wonder if
Um,
anybody on the live tried it and noticed anything, even to use your own name, to call yourself by your name or a name of endearment. How does that feel to you? It can feel really foreign, strange, weird, right? But also just notice what else comes up when you look at yourself with some
yeah.
kindness, regard, you know?
Even if there's a nickname that you call yourself,
Yes,
like
yes,
one of my friends on here, Mamala, so nice to see you today. You look great. I
yes,
love you. I love
that's
your
right.
shoulders. I love your face. I love
Yes.
your hair. You have a beautiful smile. You have such a nice heart.
Yes,
Just really
beautiful
doing
heart.
those kind of
I love
things.
you.
Right.
You know, speak to your heart. It's like, I love you, my heart.
Right.
I love
Right.
you. You're so beautiful. Oh, my heart. You know, and kiss your heart.
Right. Because people think that if we do that, people are going to think they're crazy. Well, guess what? If you're in bed and it's either your partner or the dog or the cat or whoever, they're not going to care. You're gonna make this part of your routine
Yeah,
for you, taking care of you, and that's everybody how you thrive
that
with
is
this inner journey
truly,
is
yes.
loving you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, loving it.
And I want to say, when you start these practices, they will feel strange. They will feel like it. I don't know that I love myself. That's right, because you haven't learned. So the first time you say it, you're not going to feel it. But
Right.
evoke a sense of love that you have for someone that you truly love, and and try it on for yourself until that real love will be seeded and watered and nurtured in you through these practices.
Right.
It's an
So true.
Love is active. So we need to actively engage in a process with ourselves.
Amanda says, "Is it weird when I call myself by name? My name doesn't seem to fit me."
So then what name would feel more fitting to you? Use it.
Hmm. Right.
Use it. Yeah.
Right.
Choose the
And
name
and
you want,
whatever it is, whatever,
whatever it is.
if you want to call yourself Lulu or Sugar Lips, whatever fits for you.
Whatever, yeah,
Right.
your heart desires. And if you don't know the name, sit with yourself and ask, tell me, by what name would you like me to call you?
Hmm.
And you'll get an answer.
Dolores says, "I like Dr. Weed." That's funny because Amanda's name is Weed. So
Ah,
got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Um, Even loved one. I love when you said that in the first time we, hello, my love. Hello, my love.
yes.
So beautiful. Elizabeth says, it didn't give me a rush through my body and calm my nerves. I tried to adapt self love. I'm learning, and this is a nice practice. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I have to tell you, I don't know where our time goes. I really
Oh,
don't know
wow.
where our time. I
Right.
know. I know. And on the East Coast, I know that we're almost at 9 o'clock. But I wanted to mention a couple things. One, do you have anything coming up that you'd like people to know about? Any workshops that you're doing? Anything coming up for you?
I mean, they're local here. So
Okay.
I
Well,
don't know.
anybody in Pennsylvania,
I have a family constellations workshop coming up on August 10th.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know so I could spread the word, girl. Let me know.
Okay,
I
yeah.
know. Mental Health Matters says, hello, my divine
Absolutely.
soul. I
Oh,
love that. Hello,
yeah,
my divine
I love
soul.
that.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. That's a really good one. Well, I do want to mention this, guys, because this is the next big thing. I am part of this amazing retreat coming up, Mystics, Miracles, and Magic. You have
Oh,
all these amazing luminaries. You have Radley Valentine, Denise Lynn, Lisa Williams, and Dougal Frazier. They are all going to be at Scamania, where where I got married at, right, guys? And I'm going to be doing a breakout session. I'm also going to do a movement session in the morning. And my beautiful friend, Kira Schaefer, As You Wish Publishing, she is going to be doing an amazing Qigong experience. And if you guys sign up, go to the website. Delora has it right here. So thanks, Delora. Go to scamania.celebrateyourlife.com. And when you sign up, if you use the discount Elias 300, guess what? Y'all get $300 off. You all get $300 off. And that is, you listen, I'll tell you straight from the source. Liz, who's on here. Hi, Liz. Liz is like, whoa, whoa, Scamania. There it is. Yes. This might be a while before they go back to Scamania. There's other things that are planned. You do not want to miss the magic that is Scamania. And I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. And Liz puts on an amazing event. There she is. Puts on an amazing event. So please, guys, go to, once again, scamania.celebrateyourlife.com. Use Elias 300. You get $300 off. And these are 4 amazing, amazing teachers, amazing people that you don't want to miss. And I'm so thrilled to be able to give the opportunity of being part of this and having a breakout session. So I'm excited. I'm super thrilled. And thank you, thank you, thank you. We've got a lot of stuff going on. So if you have, yes, it is quite the talent, Susan. Totally, quite the talent. And go to eliaspatrick.com. You'll see all the events. Scamania's on there as well, and you can do that. And thank you, Delora. Yes, I'm having a special on empowerment coaching, 33% off coaching packages through July 11th. So please sign up if you are interested. And I will have a little evening special about that. Once I get this yuck cleared up, I will be able to give a little bit more on a special live for all of you. So I'm excited. Intissar, you are always welcome. We're going to do this more than just once a year. It's always in June and July that you're on. I don't know why, but we are going to.
I don't keep track.
I know. So I definitely want you to be on in the next couple months. Maybe we could do something around fall.
Okay.
And I'll give you I would love to have you come on in October, because the theme is transform.
Ah, nice.
That'd be great. Oh, I just got all the tingles. Whoa. Top of my head is all tingly. And we will keep you guys informed of this duo doing a retreat together. So super, super excited.
Very excited.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your knowledge. Thank you, guys. And
thank you, everyone.
Remember, everybody, we are here to connect. And when we connect, we educate. And when we educate, we grow. There is unity in community. And I have to tell you, Diana said she's in Pennsylvania. So go look up your workshop. Fascinating. August, say it again.
Well, it hasn't been made public yet. August 10th.
Don't say anything yet. August 10th. Shh, it's a secret until July. All right. So thank you, Liz. Connect, educate, and grow. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Remember, there is unity in community. From our hearts to yours. Be well, everybody. Stay healthy, everybody. Stay healthy.
Bye, everyone.
And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.